In this episode of Home Theater Geeks, I feature a home theater that's out of this world. So don't go anywhere.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Hey there, Scott Wilkinson here, the Home Theater Geek. In addition to doing Home Theater Geeks, I also write a monthly column for avsforum.com called Home Theater of the Month, in which I feature a home theater built by one or another member of the forum. And I thought, you know what? I could share some of those with you, my Home Theater Geeks audience. So first up, I'm going extreme. It's the Star Wars Theater, built by Charlie Dias in Woodworth, Louisiana. It's part of a new home build that he started in 2021. The theater room is huge. It's at least 20 feet high. And the framing was done with 2x6 studs instead of the more common 2x4. So you can see here some people on high scaffolding assembling or installing some of the framing. One of Charlie's main concerns was soundproofing. The floor is a 6-inch matte concrete slab with 3x3 foot footings and heavy rebar. And as I said before, the framing uses 2x6 studs, and those gaps are eventually going to be filled with hand-packed cellulose. So he was serious about soundproofing. In fact, after that cellulose, he has a layer of Acoustiblock, 1/4-inch viscoelastic polymer covering the walls and ceiling. Over 3,000 square feet of it altogether. Now, this material is a patented type of mass-loaded vinyl that converts acoustic energy into mechanical and friction energy. So it absorbs sound that hits it quite effectively. Now, once the infrastructure or the foundation was installed, it was time to make it look like the Death Star. And so the walls of the theater consist of many, many panels that are made to look like the interior of the Death Star. These panels, which you can see here in the process of being made, are made from 3/4-inch MDF or medium density fiberboard, which is the same material that's used in speaker enclosures. Interestingly, there are a number of control panels throughout the room that actually don't do anything. They're called greeblies. And here's a picture of some of the people who built the theater who are working on them. And they are constructed meticulously to look like they're functional, but in most cases, they're not. One exception I'll tell you in a minute. There's even a replica of the Emperor's throne from The Return of the Jedi, which was custom made like everything else. Here we see a guy working on it, and boy, it's really something. The front left, center, and right speakers are from a company called Wisdom Audio. They are the Sage Cinema Line 3. They're so-called line arrays with a bunch of vertically stacked drivers. This line array limits the vertical dispersion of the sound and creates a nice, even horizontal dispersion, which blankets the room very nicely with the sound. This kind of line array is often used in concert venues, and here we're using it in a home theater. Also, to the left and right of the left and right speakers, you can see the two subwoofers, which are also from Wisdom Audio. They're called the STS subwoofers, and they go seriously down in frequency. The surrounds and overhead speakers are also from Wisdom Audio, and the surrounds are even line arrays like these. So it's quite something. You can see also the acoustic backing behind those speakers and between them, which absorbs the sound going backwards and really encourages all the sound to come forwards. So the final theater really looks amazing. You saw it at the beginning of the show. Here it is again. 12 seats in 3 rows on risers, and including the Emperor's Throne, which we'll get a picture of in just a minute. I'm closer up. And in fact, the next picture is one of the control panel greeblies, which doesn't do anything except one thing. It does open and close the sliding door you see to the right, like the doors in the Death Star. I had to show you also a picture of the equipment racks, which are really, really something. There's 4 of them, I believe, and they're the cabling from to all the different components and so on is so beautifully wrapped and dressed here, as they call it, and it really is a thing of beauty. That right there is really, really something else. The Preamp Processor, by the way, is a Trinov Altitude 32, which is a super high-end processor that costs well into the 5 figures all by itself. So I mentioned the Emperor's Throne. I have a close-up of it to show you. It looks just like the one in Return of the Jedi, but the owner says it's quite uncomfortable to sit in and watch a movie. Mostly visitors take pictures of themselves sitting in it and then move to one of the recliners when it's showtime. Still, it's very effective. And it does have controls mounted in the arms that do work. Now, the screen is 260 inches diagonal, measuring 2.37 to 1 aspect ratio, so perfect for movies. And it's the largest home theater screen I think I know of. There are probably larger ones out there, but that is really, really big. It comes from a company called Seymour Screen Excellence, and it's a woven material, so like a cloth, which means it's acoustically transparent. So the speakers, which are behind that screen, send their sound through the screen, and it's acoustically transparent. The sound passes through it with very little modification and comes into the room really, really well. The projector is a Sony VPL GTZ80, pretty expensive high-end Sony projector, with an anamorphic lens, which stretches the image into that 2.39 aspect ratio. And a video processor called MadVR, NV Extreme is the model, make sure that the image is displayed properly at the correct aspect ratio. Okay, so how much did Charlie Dias spend on his home theater? $1 million. Good grief. That's really amazing. But you can see why. You can see what $1 million buys you for a home theater. Now, that thing was built professionally from top to bottom. A lot of other home theaters that I will be featuring when I talk about them on this show are complete DIY. Do it yourself. The homeowner built the room, did the drywall, did everything. DIY. Cost significantly less than $1 million. In fact, that's way more than any other home theater I've ever featured. But I thought it was really interesting. It's like reading a car magazine and reading a review of a Ferrari. Are you ever going to own a Ferrari? I'm not. But it's fun to read about, just to dream. And so here is a theater we can all dream about, because we're all home theater geeks after all. Now, if you want to read more about it, you can read my article in avsforum.com. We'll put the URL in the show notes. And a YouTuber by the name of Youthman also posted a video tour of the theater, and we'll post a link to that as well, because it's very interesting to watch a video crew go through that theater and talk to the owner. So this is just, it's over the top fun, and I hope you enjoyed it. Now, if you have a question for me, I hope you will send it on in to htg@twit.tv, and I will answer as many of them as I can. And we thank you for your support of the TWiT network with your membership in Club TWiT, which lets you see the video portion of this podcast, which in this case is kind of cool because you get to see all those neat photos from the $1 million Star Wars home theater. Of course, you can listen audio. Just go to your favorite podcatcher and grab this podcast in audio form. But if you want to see the video, then come on in and join Club TWiT, when you can also enter the Club TWiT Discord channel and watch us make the show live. So I hope you will consider it. Until next time, geek out.